If the dealership says it's fixed, it needs to be fixed.
I think we need to do a better job in just communicating.
Welcome to the channel. I'm Liz. I have been RVing since the 80s and have been making videos about the RV industry, helping people especially who've had problems with their new RVs. My videos have caused the manufacturer to spring into action, including flying techs out to do repairs, transporting the rig to the factory, and even buying back defective RVs. Today, Brian shares his problems with his new RV, and I have the dealer on to share their side of the story. By the way, I was surprised by the dealer's solution, so you'll definitely want to stick around for that.
We've owned campers since 2015. It was a brand new unit that had been sitting on the lot for a year. I purchased this camper from Funtown RV in Wharton, Texas, and they're about 2.5 hours away from us. We have 3 children. My oldest is 12. My youngest is 6 now. My daughter has been showing dogs for a little over 2.5, 3 years now, and that's what's really continued us to have this camper, is it saves us on hotel bills and lets us park right at the expo centers to do these dog shows. We have really fell in love with this camper from day one. And on October 24th, we were preparing to take it to a trip and noticed our pillows had gotten wet. I took it right back into the dealer, and they said that they repaired it, brought it home somewhere after the next rainstorm, went back in and checked, and had the same leak. Of course, I called the dealer again. They requested that I bring it back.
My name is Joe Anderson. I'm the Chief of Sales and Marketing for Funtown RV. So I oversee all 21 retail locations. I'm not going to try to make excuses for the company. When we fix something, it should be fixed.
I had many other issues that I found in the meantime. The door, the hinges were hanging out. I believe it only had about one more screw left in it. Almost lost the door. Kitchen faucet had been leaking, and I replaced that myself. When I did, I realized it did not have the rubber gasket. Therefore, any water that got on the countertop was able to get it in, and it, of course, swelled up the countertop. In looking at that, I noticed there was a crack in the sink. The bathroom shower, there was a gap of at least an inch to 1.5 inches around the corner that would let water out on the bathroom floor. The water heater I had problems with. The electric element had burned out, and replaced the element, and it still wasn't working. I'm an electrician by trade. I ended up replacing the thermostats. There was a bunch of other minor things, like the outdoor speakers not working, which the dealership kind of refused to replace for me. They wanted me to pay for that. You know, it would be $30 or $40 for me to order something like that off Amazon, but that shouldn't be my responsibility to cover that.
So on the outside speakers that were working, these things do have a ton of wires and mechanisms, and you know, things can go wrong. I would assume this is a case where the warranty kicked it back and wasn't going to pay a warranty claim, so that would be the next option, being customer pay. But it's one of those things, again, where, you know, we should have addressed it on a deeper line, or got with the manufacturer, really pushed through on that warranty claim.
Who did the PDI, and why did this not get caught? When you do a PDI, it's supposed to be ready to bring home and go camping that next day if I wanted to, or even that evening. I should not have to come home and test these systems myself.
Funtown RV does a PDI. We're one of the only dealer groups to have a PDI facility in Elkhart, Indiana, where we do a big majority of our PDIs before they're shipped down to Texas. And then we have what we call a QAC, Quality Assurance Check. And that's if a unit was PDI'd and then sitting on the lot for a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, whatever it might be, it goes through a final QAC. Unfortunately, in this one, you know, it sounds like they missed a few things. During the orientation with Brian, that's a fun and happy day, and everybody didn't catch things then. I think these things were noticed after he got home, which is not unusual. And it's going to happen again. It's going to happen at every single dealership. These things do go up and down the road. They bounce around. Things get loose every single day. But at the end of the day, this comes back to what happens. We all know that every single RV, when it leaves, is going to need service. This really comes back to the part after the fact. What can we do right when they need service? And that's getting them in, taking care of the customers with priority, communicating with the customers, and treating them like family. This is fun. It's in our name, Funtown RV. Camping is fun, recreational vehicles. Like, this is why people buy these things, and that's our vision and what we try to do every single time. There's no doubt, you know, we're going to miss. We missed on this one in the beginning.
We dropped this camper off at the dealership February 19th. We picked up the camper on April 12th. That's 2 months that they had our camper. And I just gave them a specific list of all these problems, and they ignored 4 or 5 items on that list just completely ignored. They claim to have fixed this leak. So they've repaired this leak twice now. We get it home. First rainstorm comes through the next week. Not even half an inch of rain. And now I've got water in the back of the camper also. It's leaking from one of the windows. The floor's bubbled up in the back. I have a moisture meter. I tested around the front cap. It's still detecting moisture.
Our techs clearly missed something on this, couldn't diagnose it, couldn't find it. That does happen from time to time, and it is our job to hunt these down and continue to hunt them down. But after several times, it's obviously a bigger issue or something that needs escalation, and I think that part was dropped on our end.
You've repaired it twice now, and it's still leaking. If the dealership says it's fixed, it needs to be fixed.
I think the ball, just overall in this scenario with Brian, was just dropped in the communication of taking it up to a higher level and getting with the right people. I mean, this was the first time it came across my desk, which is unfortunate because we do like to do the right things right every single time. And I'm not going to, again, sit here and say that, we don't miss or fail once in a while. We do. It's the world we live in, and we're all human. It's all about how you handle it, and we try to handle these situations correctly each and every time.
Fortunately, I'm able to do these things myself. What about people that are not able to do these things, that trust the dealership to take care of these things for us?
Water leaks in RVs, unfortunately, it's not uncommon, but it is trying to find the source. They're hard, without completely tearing an RV apart. Usually step one is trying to fill any voids, in the caulking. Again, unfortunately, we missed it. It's a training exercise for the service department. It'll happen again. This ain't the first time, and it is a lot to chase down water and water intrusions, and hard to get those scenarios to duplicate in a shop in a controlled environment and just running water on them. It's much different than going down the road or with wind and water. I don't want those to be excuses, but they are the nature that an RV is in. We have to do a better job of finding those, really communicating with the customer when he has those, if it's sending a tech out there during the time of it's, physically leaking, maybe that would have been a better result.
We've owned used campers since 2015. This is our 5th camper. All of the problems that we had with our used campers do not add up to what we've had with this brand new one. And that's why we went and bought a brand new camper, is because we didn't want to have all these used camper problems. We didn't even own it for 2 weeks without our first problem. And then it wasn't even 90 days before we had to take it back to the dealership. And then they had it for 2 months. I just spent a good 6 hours this last weekend crawling around on my unit, sealing everything. I noticed almost all the seals around the windows have cracked and separated. I never could find any water in the cabinet that goes above the bed. Best I could tell, it was coming through the seam where the aluminum, it's got a solid aluminum front that meets the roof. I'm not an RV service technician, so I'm doing the best I can. I'm very concerned about it still leaking. I've only had it for about 6 months now. We know how much water's been getting in that little bit of time. I don't want to take it back to the dealership and let it sit for another 3 to 6 months.
At the end of the day, the goal is to stop from having these units come back to the shop for 2-3 months. Unfortunately, with the amount of RVs that are in the market and were sold through, kind of the RV boom, the service centers are backed up and extremely busy. Trying to keep up with that is a huge demand, and it all is going to come down to just better processes, better communication, and following up with these customers, making sure people like Brian are happy. I think for the most part, we do a good job on that.
Whatever water damage has happened in the floor, the walls, those things are going to continue to buckle if it's rusted out fasteners or the wood has rotted. None of this pops up overnight, and that's where that 1-year warranty comes into play. It's just long enough to slide by, and then all these problems start to appear. I'm very concerned that it's got more water damage than we know about, insulation damage, and possible mold or mildew damage. That wood has also swelled up. It's all OSB, so when it gets wet, it swells. So if I go to trade this unit in, they're going to say you've got water damage, and they're not going to give me top dollar for my camper. I would definitely, now that we've learned about getting an inspection, I would have that done, especially since the dealership was far enough away from me. It would have definitely benefited to have an inspection, and maybe they could have found some of these problems before we went and picked it up. We've got to do something about this quality that's coming out off the lines here. The manufacturers are just trying to ignore these problems. I believe the dealership is just making money on these warranties. They send a unit out, halfway inspected. We bring it back in for warranty. They process a claim. They get paid for that. Almost feels like it's an inside business deal going on. It's something's got to be done about this. Thankfully, there is social media, and we can get the word out there this way. And Liz, we thank you for being out there and doing something and taking time to record these videos and putting people's stories out. I've asked around on Forest River's Facebook page, hey guys, are y'all having these same kind of problems? There's a handful out there, but I believe Forest River makes a quality camper. I mean, if there was another 23 available, I'm not asking for an upgrade, just a fair trade of, you guys sold me a bad rig, just send me a new camper. Let's start over. Hopefully one that made it through quality control that day, because I feel like mine just got skipped.
We got an email from Liz, and it was the first time that it reached the CEOs and my desk. I immediately, even before reaching out to Liz, I picked up the phone and called Brian, and we had a resolution within 2 hours. It didn't take much. After hearing about the leak and chasing it down, and the many times it was apparent that, hey, I need to get this unit back into the shop, and I need to get Brian out there camping with his family. I'll figure out the rest of it. But the most important part right then was to get Brian camping, enjoying the summer. 4th of July is coming right up. He's getting a brand new camper, 2024, with some upgrades and everything like that. We had one in stock. It's the same model, a year newer, and he's going to have fun. And that's what me and him talked about is it's time for you to get out there and enjoy it with your family. That's what you guys deserve. That's what you guys are going to get. The end goal here is doing the right thing and taking care of him. And that's everybody. It's in our core values. Our core values are happy, and we live by them. We try to do the right things every time. We know there are RVs and they're going to have problems. We're going to fix the problems. We're going to do it the right way. I apologize, and on some of these things that got missed right there in the beginning, and it's a learning opportunity for us. We'll take that. We'll grow better as we go and continue to take care of all of our customers.
Funtown's response is the reason why I make these videos. I am so happy for Brian. Thank you, Funtown, for doing that. And if you're keeping score, I have now managed to get 3 buybacks in less than 2 months. That's why I make these videos, is to help others, help me grow this channel so I can grow my influence and help even more customers. You can do that by liking, subscribing, and definitely sharing. And getting an inspection on new did not used to be a thing, but now it is. If you have any more tips for buying new or used, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.